our focus in this is not going to be your partner's behavior. It's really going to be breaking down what's happening for you, and can you get in tune with that, and then can you bring that authentic, vulnerable experience to your partner and have a conversation about that.
Connecting couples with the real Imhoffs. Hi, I'm Chad Imhoff.
And I'm Angela Imhoff. And we're excited because this is our first podcast.
It's our first one. We were going to dive right into content, and we thought, man, we should probably introduce ourselves. So we're going to dive into our story just a little bit and try to help you understand where we come from and who we are, and maybe why this is passionate. We have a big passion for this and are passionate about this topic, but also why we think it's so important and some of the things that we think we're going to lay out for you as we go through this.
We're going to do both a YouTube show that you can watch, or you can listen to it on a podcast. We decided to kind of double up so that you can have some variety in how we want to get to you. And our design really was that we wanted to help couples navigate the conversations that they're learning about, specifically in EFT therapy, or if they go to a Hold Me Tight, or if they go to Creative for Connection. So this is really EFT specific, and we're excited that this is going to be kind of a therapy companion. Like, we want to really encourage couples who are already really working hard on their relationship to have intentional connecting conversations at home. And so every week we're going to launch another one, and this is our first series. It's just going to be the basics. And we're going to just kind of dive into some of the things that that we hope to do with this podcast for you guys.
Yeah, as we're sitting here, I was just thinking, there is no substitute for therapy, and this is not therapy. But we do want to give you the tools. It's like if you're somebody who thinks, hey, this is a project I could take on myself at home, I'm a do-it-yourselfer kind of guy personally. I love a new tool. I love to go buy something and get a new thing. So we're going to try to give you some tools, give you some ideas, give you conversations that you can have that might give you a leg up and kind of encourage your therapy process, especially if you're going to an EFT therapist. We'll give you a little bit of the kind of cognitive content that maybe would cost a lot of money to sit in front of a therapist and get. And so we're going to try to give you some of that content and help you kind of move along your journey in developing a healthier, stronger bond as you go. So we're going to try to give you as much of that as we can in a simple way.
Let's back up for just a second and introduce ourselves.
Yeah, we should.
And kind of explain how we got to this point. And so do you want to go first?
Sure. So I am Chad Imhoff. I have a PhD in counselor education and supervision. I've also got a master's in marriage and family therapy. I'm a licensed professional counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm an EFT, emotionally focused therapy supervisor. I'm also working consistently with a group of people on a project called Success in Vulnerability. And so we're constantly kind of honing our craft and I talk about relationships and what goes wrong in relationships and all the components, from sex to money to whatever. I talk about that every day. So it's kind of what I do. And so coming up with something like this seems like it's just almost a no-brainer. So that's kind of my...
He's a natural fit. He's the expert we're bringing to this conversation.
The expert. I don't know if anybody's an expert on somebody else's story, but or anybody else's relationship. We do want to engage with you, though, and give you kind of the tips and tricks a little bit. But the thing that really kind of, I think, makes someone qualified to talk about relationship is having had relationship. And so we've all got that. But I've had relationship where it failed. I've struggled. I've been divorced. I got married, and things were really hard between me and my ex-wife. And I think if maybe I had known some of this, or if I'd done things differently, things could have been different in that relationship. And so that's part of what I come to the table with. I also come from a family of origin with divorce in it, from grandparents to parents to cousins and uncles. I mean, almost everybody in my family has had relationship struggles. So this is something that's really real in my life. And I know that I played a part in my previous divorce, but I also know that we all play a part in whatever's going on in our relationship. And so as we talk about these things, I really like to apply it to my own story and to my own life and see if I can get healthier. I mean, this is honestly, a lot of times Angela and we bring our story to the table, our fight from last week or last night, and share it with you guys, is what we hope to do anyway, because we're not perfect either. We go home and we have these struggles and we have these issues that we all do. but we have some tools that navigate it. And man, is it so nice when you can resolve something, when it doesn't have to stay disconnected for hours or days or weeks or months, and we can find ways to come back together and apologize, sure, but really understand each other, understand the hurt and pain that happens in the relationship. So that's a little bit of me and why I think I want to do these kind of podcasts and YouTube events for people.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
What about you, Angela?
My name is Angela, and I have an undergrad actually in film production and screenwriting. And so I don't have, I remember in grad school, I have a master's in marriage and family therapy. And in grad school, everybody was talking about something called the DSM. And I leaned over to one of my other students beside me and I said, "What is the DSM? I don't know it." And she kind of laughed and went, "You're a little bit behind," because I had no psychology undergrad or information. I actually started taking a few classes at JBU to get my master's because I wanted to understand how people, how dysfunction worked, how people kind of went off the rails. My life did. I was married before. I'm also divorced. And I fell in love with my high school sweetheart. He was a Christian guy, and we came from good families and seemed to have what it took. And we were dated and got married, and it went wrong really fast. And there was infidelity, and there was just a whole lot of issues that came up that I didn't feel prepared looking back to respond to well. And so I kind of leaned towards some of the tendencies that I felt more comfortable with, which I've learned in EFT, that I was a critical pursuer. So I leaned on control and criticism and used shame as a motivator. And it was just wretched for both of us. And so after a really long time, that ended. And that's when I landed in Celebrate Recovery. And that's another thing for me. I'm the ministry leader. Chad and I actually co-lead, but I'm the one that's on staff at a church in Fayetteville, and I run a Celebrate Recovery. And so part of my journey has been not only my own recovery, but really working with other people, individuals, and helping them recover their lives. And so just as much as Chad brings a lot of the knowledge from his PhD and some of the other studies that he's done to the table, for me, I feel like the experience I've had walking with people through recovery and walking my own life back from a really bad place is kind of what I bring to the table too, which obviously he just shared that we both have that element. But for me, just the heart that I had was not only to live a healthier life myself, but also to help other people really live healthier lives. And so Chad and I met in grad school at JBU and started dating. And we were both kind of going the same direction, knew that we had come from broken marriages and had a passion to, if anything else, help other couples not have a broken marriage, but actually have a thriving marriage. And that started with us. And so we will share this obviously in the future as well. But for us, we jumped into what we want to call pre-engagement. Even before we were engaged, we started to get counseling to help us.
Yeah, we both knew that we could mess up a relationship.
Yeah.
And so we're like, man, we must do something different this time to continue. Even before we were really seriously dating, I was like, man, you've got to just like me for me, because I can't do it the way that it happened last time. So we were both very aware that we could mess up a relationship, very aware that, our what I like to think of as our training in life or training in relationships had not worked. Yeah. We had learned some things that had gotten us through and kind of made sense in the context of where we came from, whether that's family of origin or previous relationships or other people, but definitely did not work in the context of a long-term committed loving relationship. So
we sat down on her couch and said, "Listen, if left to our own devices, we're going to ruin this thing.
We will blow this thing up.
So please help us." Yeah. And she started. And so from that, we're like, okay, I think we can do this. And so we got married, and from the get-go had amazing community around us. And that's really shortly after we got married 9 years ago, our EFT journey began also. We went to an externship, started Core Skills, and really started diving in. And since then have also become Creative for Connection facilitators. So we love bringing couples together. And so a lot of the whole type material is what we'll also discuss. When we really started talking about, is there a need out there for just another podcast or something else? We, on our side, spend a lot of time with therapists, helping them hone their skill, which is something we have a passion about also. But we knew that there were couples, even that we see in our practice, that go home and even if they have a great session that day, if we only see them for 1 hour once a week, sometimes it isn't enough to help those couples start having really great conversations at home. And so part of our passion was like, how can we help couples continue to have these intentional conversations? How can we help a pursuer make a repair after a fight? How can we help a withdrawer re-engage when they've gone away for protection? How can we just, even if 20 minutes a week is what our goal is going to be, to kind of drop in, hey, here is the connect point this week that we want you guys to intentionally try, and we want to queue up that conversation so that you guys can connect. Exactly the title of this podcast, Connecting Couples, is what we want to do.
Yeah, I was just sitting here, and as you were saying that, I was thinking, we don't want this to just be another podcast that tells you, here's your style of personality or whatever you want to call that. I mean, and we're not trying to give you tips and tricks on how to like trick your wife or husband into loving you more or doing things. I mean, that's not at all what we're about. We believe that people truly make sense in the context of their story. And so we want to help you guys know each other and understand each other at a deeper level, in a new way. This doesn't mean that you won't hurt or that you won't tick each other off or fight about something or be setting up a podcast and lights and cameras and getting a little argument maybe. But it does mean that
what
you'll...
What are you talking about?
that never happens. But it does mean that you can engage with each other. That even though life, I will have wants. I'll want to buy something, or I want to do something, or I want to go somewhere, and it won't work with our schedule or our life or our budget or whatever the thing is. But what we want to do is help you kind of navigate some of those things. So that's one thing. But the second thing that we really want to make sure we do in this is help you guys intentionally connect. We want to make sure that we help you do this differently. We're not just going to talk about problems. We're not just going to tell you stories about our life, how we fight and that sort of thing. We actually want to give you some kind of thing to go do.
Practical.
Right? A practical application point, and it's kind of like a little bit of homework, right? Something that you guys could do together or kind of even think about. And so it's not that you don't have to write anything down unless maybe there will be somewhere you write something. But really what we're trying to do is say, hey, take this and go connect with your spouse. Take this and go connect with the other half of your relationship. And you guys see if you can have a conversation around some of the things. And when I say around some of the things, really what I mean is in the way that we do it, because we're not so focused on content or the story, the minutia of the story. We are more focused on the process of how we talk. So. Yeah.
And Chad and I, for those couples that we kind of started this for, were the couples that have been to our Creative for Connection. At the end, they have these great weekend that we bring them through the seminar, and they just have these amazing, the courage that they have to go into these really hard conversations, that hold me tight conversation where you share your fear, you ask for your need to be met. We just see so much beauty in the way couples work hard for their relationship. And then a month will go by and we'll connect with those couples and go, well, how is it? And they're like, well, it was great that weekend, but it's really hard each week to apply this stuff. And so that's kind of when actually a few of our couples were like, do you guys have a podcast? And we're like, no. And they're like, you should start one. And so we're doing this per request. We thought, okay, this is something that has been requested and we would love to try to meet that. And it's not that we feel qualified. It's just that we do this stuff anyway. And so it was kind of a natural fit for us just to turn the cameras on and give it a shot. So here we are. Our hope is that the format will kind of be like this, that each week we're going to have a topic, and then we'll kind of explain the content of the topic, and then we're going to share kind of a story or an application from our own lives, and then we're going to queue up how the conversation goes. Not too unlike if you've been to a Hold Me Tight, or if you've been to a Creative for Connection, or if you're in therapy with an EFT therapist and they queue up that enactment where you have to turn to your partner and say. Those are the tangible things that we're going to try to do on a weekly basis to help couples connect and build the bond that they have.
We would love for you guys to listen to it separately and then come together and do the connect point. Or even if your spouse doesn't want to listen, or if they're busy or they don't, and that's fine, but finding ways for you to do your part of the relationship a little bit better. And that's really something we talked about this morning, was just, this is we don't want this to become like, hey, Angela, you should really be a little bit softer right now because I'm trying to be vulnerable. And if you were softer,
Chad, the withdrawer.
Right.
And this is not something that pursuers are going to use against their partner. It's not another book that you've read that you're going to tell them how they're getting it wrong. Our focus in this is not going to be your partner's behavior. It's really going to be breaking down what's happening for you, and can you get in tune with that, and then can you bring that authentic, vulnerable experience to your partner and have a conversation about that. Even the conversation can be, hey, we're about to start this new thing. We're going to listen to this podcast and we're going to try to have this intentional conversation. And I'm afraid the fear that I have is that you're not going to be into it and I'm going to come with too much energy and be disappointed. And so I want to do it, but can we have a talk about what this looks like? I mean, even starting with what's happening for me is how we want to cue you guys up every week. It's not a tool to use against your partner. It's a tool to use with your partner to build a stronger bond, to build a more secure relationship, so you can start talking or get better at talking about those more vulnerable things. That's our goal.
Yep. And so the fact that you guys are even listening to this probably means either one, you're a friend of ours and said you would,
True that.
or and that might be most, but two, but it means that you care about your relationship. Yeah. You do want to work on this, and you're saying, hey, we want to build something, and so that intent, that heart is already good, right? So we want to just encourage you guys, stick with that, hang in there for this.
So we're going to kind of wrap this first segment up. Each one of these is only going to be designed to be about 20 minutes long. And our first series that we're going to do out here on the back porch at Chad's mom's house, actually, we're like, this is lovely, like little...
Hey, Mom, can I use your porch?
Yeah, it's a lot of backlit, and Chad's giving me a hard time about the sunlight, but I really liked it. I just want it to be like a casual kitchen conversation that we're just having, coming into your home from ours to say, hey, let's have some conversations and help couples connect. That's our hope. And so this first series is called The Basics. We're just going to dive into some EFT.
Attachment, bonding, how it goes wrong, why content throws you off, some interesting conversations around what we're going to cover.
Really a lot too. We want to start bringing up some of the wording that we're going to use. If you're already in EFT therapy, or if you've already been to one of the seminars, then you'll know a lot of the dialogue. We'll, in this first round, kind of explain some of it. And as the series continues and more series to come, we'll do a little less explaining on some of the stuff we've previously talked about. But we don't just want to use therapy words that you don't understand. We really want to help you not only understand, but really give you a language to start talking about your experience with your partner. That's really part of our goal, is to basically, same for what happened to us. We learned a language that helps us connect better. We want to just help pass that language on to you so that you guys can connect better. That's our ultimate goal.
Yeah, I want to say, I'm going to plug 2 or 3 things real fast before we hang in this. But so one, Creative for Connection. It's a great book, and Hold Me Tight. Both are good books. I mean, great books. If you want to look at those or you want to think about those, read those. That's another resource.
Hold Me Tight is written by Sue Johnson, one of the founders of EFT, and Creative for Connection is the faith-based version of Hold Me Tight. Yep. And so they're very similar. Just one has that faith aspect, if that's something that is really passionate for you.
The other thing I was going to say is, if you're interested in in coming to a conference and engaging in this, we'd love to get you connected with either one of ours, or there's conferences all over the country. So we can help you find that. Feel free to email us or check with us, and you can see that in the comments or in the boxes below. Also, the last thing I was going to say, if you're looking for an EFT therapist, ICEEFT.com is the kind of accreditation board. It's the body that kind of controls emotionally focused therapy. So if you're looking for that, I would encourage you, go to that website and say, find a therapist.
And we're going to add that link to our comments as well.
And I would encourage you to look for one that's certified in EFT. It takes a lot to do that. And if you find somebody who and this is tough because if you're looking for a therapist, it's hard to find one sometimes. So if you find somebody that's certified in EFT, you know that they've done a lot of work to really refine and hone their craft, and they've showed their work. So there's a few little commercials.
One last thing, we would love to hear from you. One of the reasons we did this is because we got asked to, and that feedback from those couples really helped us go, this is needed, and people are wanting it, and so we want to provide it. And so we would love to hear from you. What are some of the things that gets you and your spouse kind of sideways? The fights at your kitchen table, or the, arguments you have over text messages. If you let us know some of those things that are
content areas,
stuck
that kind
places
of stuff,
for you, you can email us. You can connect with either one of us individually or email us, and we would love to We will not sell you out on the podcast, but we will bring it up as a topic and keep you anonymous. We'd love to get your input and feedback on what it is that we can help you with.
All right, we got to get out of here, man. This is going long. Let's cut this one off.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for listening to us, watching us, and we'll dive into the next section.